two sisters born to the same father, but their personalities are very different. The sister is naturally kind-hearted, while the sister is cold-blooded and heartless. Looking at the dying victims, not only did she not have any sympathy but also disliked the blood covered in their own clothes dirty. The sister wanted to bring her home to help. The sister refused to agree. I had to quietly leave a glass of water and a packet of herbs. I prayed that he could get through this difficult time. It was up to God whether he would live or die. The fallen man vaguely remembered his sister's face. What the two sisters never expected was the fallen man that day was a prince from the royal family. But their faces were covered with blood. Neither of the sisters recognized him. After he recovered, their father brought him to the house to propose marriage. The father had two daughters. In order to be fair, he let the prince choose who to marry. After a week, during the time the sister deliberately to please the prince served tea and water. However, the prince already had the answer in his mind. He told his sister, "He was the one who was saved by you a few months ago. You saved the one who was in distress. It was because of the water and herbs you left behind he survived." The prince praised his sister for her heart as beautiful as her beauty. The sister blushed with embarrassment. On the day of the wedding, the prince chose to put the ring on his sister's hand. The wedding took place a week later. The sister not only saw her beloved taken away by her sister, she was also killed by her beloved's own hand. 100 years later, the sister's ghost absorbed the essence of heaven and earth on the night of the red moon and found the spell on the last page of the secret book, closed the door to practice, and sucked human blood. Finally, she has developed dark magic. The sister's ghost evolved into the supreme lord of the ring. Find the reincarnated sister and prince, take their souls to the cave. The feud of 100 years ago will be ended now. The sister took out the sword that the prince pierced her own heart with the sword. Now she returns it to the prince. The sword was thrust at the prince when it was suddenly stopped by the boundary. The sister, unsure of what to do, attacked both of them again with magic, but again she failed to break the Buddha's light on her sister's body. I thought that if I could practice magic, I thought I could defeat the monk with the last page of the spell. However, during this time, the monkey went to the underworld to help all sentient beings. The merits he had accumulated had greatly increased his magic power. Even if my sister cultivates more, she would never be able to defeat the monk. The monk advised him to let go of his grudge and reincarnate in front of all the people. The senior monk told the truth about the day, the truth of his sister's murder. It turned out that in order to steal the beloved one from her sister after practicing witchcraft, she became half human and half demon. She almost killed her most loyal servant and escaped. The servant reported the incident to the master. After the incitement, the father invited the monk again to save his daughter. At this time, the daughter has become a demon. After the father tried to persuade her, to no avail. The monk subdued her. When he was about to kill his sister, the father felt compassion again. He begged the monk to loosen the rope for his daughter. When he tried to persuade his daughter again, but the daughter was killed by her own hands. The monk was also wounded by a sneak attack. Then he killed the second aunt, that is, the sister's biological mother. By now, the crazy sister didn't want to stop. She wanted to kill all the people here. When the sister was about to suffocate, the senior monk gave the prince a dagger. However, the prince refused to do anything. The monk used magic to help the prince to kill the sister. So the sister thought it was the prince she loved most in her life killed herself. For 100 years. She held a deep grudge. After her death, the monk sealed her soul in a white ring of precious stones buried together in the cave. Then the cave began to collapse. The servant did not want to leave and chose to be buried with his master. Although the prince escaped with his sister, but in order to cover his sister, he was hit in the head by Luo. He was dying. Her greatest regret in life was not being able to complete the wedding with her sister. With her last breath, she made a wish. She wished that she could meet her beloved in her next life. Then she died in her sister's arms. Her sister was already in tears, complaining about how unfair fate was on that day. All her relatives died in the cave. The sister had no choice but to die. She spent the rest of her life trying to redeem her dead family back in time. After learning the truth, the sister also shed tears. She felt sorry for all her family members, and the servants who were buried with her. The sister said to her sister, "I am sorry for Being 100 years late with the help of the monk, the two sisters finally shook hands and reconciled their grudges. The sister knelt down and apologized for the innocent people she had killed. Today is also the night of the full moon. After the inner obsession was released, the souls of the sister and the servant can finally be reincarnated. The servant was the first to leave. The senior monk transformed my sister's soul into her past life. Before she left, she took one last look at her beloved and her sister. Maybe they are the best together. The sister did not regret having loved. After the prince shed a tear, his soul turned into golden particles and dissipated. The white jewel ring fell to the ground. The sister's soul returned to her body and woke up. The family wept with joy as they stood by. The prince also woke up from his sickbed after recovering from his wounds. They turned the cave into a museum. The two rings had a story to tell. My sister often told it as a myth to future generations. The prince took out the ring he had prepared in advance. He got down on one knee and proposed to his beloved. After the sister reached out her hand and put on the ring, the prince finally fulfilled his last wish from his previous life. The lovers were finally married.